I'm gonna make video games and everyone's gonna play them. Like, you dork. Go back to the chess club. Who's laughing now? Yes, I was in the chess club.
These are the closing days of the Third Era and the final hours of my life.
Bethesda hasn't had a real win in quite a while. The last truly great game released by them was Fallout 4, almost 10 years ago. Everything they've dropped since then has paled in comparison. Based on the ridiculous amount of Skyrim re-releases, it seems that even Bethesda themselves know that. But now Bethesda has finally released a full remaster of The Elder Scrolls 4: Oblivion. It's been so long since the original game released that people who were born when the game came out are now sophomores in college, which is absolutely wild when you think about it. As a stupid glue-sniffing child, when my brother let me play this game, I had no idea what to do or where to go. The land of Cyrodiil is chock full of intriguing quests and characters. It's really a shame that I couldn't make it past the sewers back then. But now, Bethesda has shadow-dropped a jaw-droppingly beautiful remaster of the game, using Unreal Engine 5 to render Cyrodiil in its photorealistic glory, while also making some much-needed gameplay improvements. But it isn't a Bethesda game if it isn't at least a little bit broken. There are some issues that the game has in its current state that I'll get to in this video eventually. First and foremost, I have to mention the insane graphical uplift that the remaster has. Using Unreal Engine to render the graphics while keeping the original engine's logic was a genius idea. It keeps the original game's feel and general wackiness that we've all come to love, while simultaneously modernizing its graphics. Literally everything from characters, models, animation, textures, and lighting have been remade from the ground up in Unreal Engine. It is pretty stunning, especially when you compare it to the original, but I will say that the color grading seems really off. It's got more of a yellowish, desaturated tint that kind of makes it feel lifeless, especially when you compare it to the original. Looking at the original's forest and grasslands that have a lush green color really amplifies the fantasy world that is Tamriel, where the remaster kind of just looks more realistic, which is good, but some more faithful color choices would have made the game look that much better to me. Luckily, this is fixable on PC with a simple reshade, of which there are a ton available already. So the visuals are absolutely stunning, but with the game using a weird fusion of the original engine and Unreal, that begs the question, how does it run? Well, unfortunately for a lot of people, myself included, performance has been pretty rough. I'd say I have a pretty decent build, and despite having okay frame rates, the game stutters quite frequently, making open world segments of the game pretty infuriating to play. It's not completely game-breaking for me, and like every Bethesda game, there are some mods that can help mitigate these stutters, but it is a stain on an otherwise amazing presentation for this game. But there's a lot more upgrades to be had here, more than just visual. From quality of life improvements like a sprint to get around Tamriel faster, an indicator that chests are empty before opening them like in Skyrim, and a much more intuitive UI, to a full-on revamped combat system, a leveling system that takes more inspiration from Skyrim, and they finally added controller support to PC. Melee combat is a lot more intentional in the remaster. Instead of swinging your sword constantly like a skooma-addicted lunatic, you have to pace your swings and timing to deal the most damage. Stagger isn't random when you block anymore, you just have to watch that your stamina doesn't run out, and each hit you deal has an actual reaction from enemies. That, along with much better sound effects and visuals, make for a combat system that feels a lot more impactful and less janky. They also replaced the difficulty slider with the same options from Skyrim, although I have some issues with the difficulty scaling in this game. Adept is the normal difficulty, setting enemy damage and player damage both at 1x, which feels okay, but but it's a little on the easy side. I haven't had much trouble getting through the game on Adept difficulty. The biggest issue I and a lot of other people had was when we decided that we want a bit more of a challenge. Well, as it turns out, bumping the difficulty up to the next difficulty up, the expert difficulty, seems to massively increase enemy damage output while turning your weapon into the equivalent of a foam sword. You put out so much less damage that fighting enemies just turns into pretty much a battle of attrition. On top of that, weapon durability makes this even more annoying for obvious reasons. I just wish there was a mode like survival mode in Fallout 4, where your health along with enemy health is lower. That way you do have to be a bit more careful in combat, but enemies also don't turn into ridiculous sword sponges. The world of Oblivion feels so much more alive when you compare it to Skyrim. Each NPC has their own disposition towards the player character. Quests that you complete, persuasion, and bribes can increase that disposition. That can then unlock some dialogue and even some quests that those characters wouldn't tell you about otherwise. The Imperial City is easily the best settlement that I've come across in a Bethesda game by far. It's gorgeous and absolutely massive, with multiple districts and a lot of things to see and do. The main quest is good, but the side quests this game has to offer are so engaging and fun to play through. The Dark Brotherhood, Thieves Guild, and the Fight Club being my favorites so far. The world itself is a lot smaller than in Skyrim, but it feels a lot more dense. You don't have to walk too far to find a settlement, a quest, or an Oblivion Gate. Oblivion is set in a world where a Daedric prince is trying to invade Tamriel from their realm of Oblivion, opening gates throughout the world where you, as the hero of Kvatch, must head through these gates to a hellish plane in Oblivion in order to close these gates. Well, the gates that I've closed so far have been pretty repetitive. It's always exciting and imposing to see that a new gate has been opened over the horizon. Of course, it is a Bethesda game, which is pretty much synonymous with jank. Every bug from the original has been ported over thanks to the fact that the original engine is still there, and a lot of new bugs have been introduced with Unreal Engine 5. Most of them are just harmless jank and stupid AI, but some are completely game-breaking, and hopefully they'll get fixed. For a lot of us, me included, this is an entirely new Elder Scrolls experience. It only took 14 years, but I'm glad to have something new to play while I wait for the Elder Scrolls 6. Hopefully that comes out soon. But yeah, the game is awesome, and I see why people prefer Oblivion to Skyrim now. And that's about all I have to say. Let me know down in the comments how you're enjoying this new remaster. See ya!